if you want to be a bona fide journalist like we are here.
The other day, he had a guy on his show who claims that Don Adelson was offered a plea deal where she could turn on her daughter Wendy and get out of jail.
Whoa.
That claim was immediately debunked.
And here's TurtleBoy, a real journalist who's referring to that guy Joel, who hosts the show Surviving a Neurotic Jewish Mom, allowing this other person to make that disclosure without pushing back and making sure that he verified his source before making that representation.
By both the prosecution and the defense, I believe. He just made it up. Unfortunately, that fake news, and that's what it was fake news, was platformed by Vinny Politan on Court TV.
Hey, Vinny, make sure you check out your sources.
He cited and quoted it because they treat this guy like he's some sort of legitimate source of news. He's not. He's a guy with a YouTube channel.
TurtleBoy's referring to the mama's boy Joel, who hosts the show Surviving the Neurotic Jewish Mother.
Who grifts off of his mother. That's all he is. That's all he ever was. He has no background in law enforcement or law, and he tries to get what he thinks is high-profile people on his show in order to grift off of them. He even says it. Hashtag best guests. Not hashtag Joel's the best. She's not fake. She's real. To be perfectly clear, his mother's story is not made up. I believe his mother's story to be true. I have no other reason to believe otherwise. I believe his mother's story to be...
Joel's mother apparently has a compelling story about how she had to hide out as a child during World War II to avoid the Nazis.
Factually true. What I don't like is how Joel uses his mother's story. It makes you think that, like, when I hear Holocaust survivor, the first thing I think of is somebody who survived a concentration camp. That's what he wants to get in your head, and that is not what happens. This is the most cringe thing I have ever seen.
This past week, my mother, Carmela Waldman, who we affectionately call...
That is the rich kid mama's boy Joel, who hosts that show Surviving the Neurotic Jewish Mother.
Surviving Survivor, turned 86 years young. And for the first time ever, she was attacked. Not physically, but verbally, by a blogger who accused her of being a fake Holocaust survivor.
She survived bombings in World War II as a child. This is not the first time she's being attacked. However, what you're witnessing is a narcissistic mother who has a son who's dealing with extreme anxiety his entire life. He's the Fredo of the family. The other siblings were super successful. He wasn't. And he has that anxiety, and you can see it in his show. There's no reason to bring your mommy on a show.
Attacked her. Listen to this guy. No, Joel. I attacked you.
But what did the blogger do? He got in front of his little green screen, flipped on his camera, flipped on his microphone, and huffed and puffed like a little petulant child and went after an 86-year-old woman who, like 99.9% of the world, have absolutely no idea who he is and frankly don't really care. Because as a son of a Holocaust survivor, it is incumbent upon me.
Joel went on a luxury vacation to Paris with his wife and kids. Then eventually they meet up with his mother in Budapest. And this is the picture he posts. Budapest is beautiful. I wonder why he didn't post the real pictures from his trip, which his wife posted on her Instagram account.
To speak up and to speak out. A little bit about my mom. She's a licensed therapist, and she most certainly is a child Holocaust survivor. There's nothing fake about her story. And most recently, her husband of 63 years, who happened to be my father, it was an unbelievable love story.
Okay.
And when you're a narcissist of epic proportions,
look at him
it's
reading.
easy to delude yourself.
Like Charlie Adelson, Joel is the son of an overbearing Jewish mother. What these guys do is live to please their mother. An adult male should not be defending his mommy on the internet, especially when TurtleBoy never attacked her at all. But he just can't help himself. And I guarantee you, his mommy wrote this.
That you're somebody you're not.
He wrote this whole thing out, and he thought, like, this will roast him.
And now the blogger's 15 minutes of fame have ticked away. And it's got to be so frightening and frustrating for him.
All criticism is self-criticism. Remember that. All criticism is self-criticism. That means every time you criticize someone, you're really saying it about yourself. And of course, Joel knows his 15 minutes of fame is up.
A history teacher. Yeah, students, sadly, were no doubt cheated out of what should have been a very valuable education.
I was a great teacher, Joel. Ask any of my students, thousands of them that I had in my class that came through room 216 at Shepherd Hill.
TurtleBoy was a teacher, and in fairness to Joel, I did survey every single one of those students, and not one of them had a nice thing to say about TurtleBoy. So he is right there.
Regional high school.
You picked a fight with an 86-year-old woman.
Oh my God.
And only one kind of person does that.
Oh my God.
An absolute coward.
Picked a fight with an 86-year-old woman.
Oh my God, what a mama's boy.
Now you're a big tough guy. Look at his face. Look at his face. I'm going to stand up to you, but not by like debating you or confronting you in person. I'm going to go on my YouTube and I'm going to make an angry hostage video and act like a tough guy. I'm so tough. I'm standing up for you. You're picking on the elderly. I'm so tough. Look at me. I'm Joel. Buy my book.
In his little living room studio. Here's more truth. Carm was more of a woman at age 4.5 than you'll ever be as a man at 40, 50, 60, 70, however long you live.
Okay.
How telling is this? But it's the same exact reason Charlie Boy executed Wendy's ex-husband. It's not because Charlie hated Dan Markel. He couldn't care less about Dan Markel. But what they care about is pleasing the narcissistic Jewish mother. And that's what we have here. And it's embarrassing. And I hope this guy Joel somehow understands that you shouldn't be worrying about what your mommy is doing. TurtleBoy didn't attack your mommy at all. But because he's the Fredo of the family, he feels compelled to do this. And this is all for his mother's love. TurtleBoy, I know you may think he's attacking you. He's not. He's doing this for one reason. And the same reason Charlie Boy committed that murder, to get his Jewish mom's love.
At 4.5 years old, my fake survivor mom, your words, not mine, who happens, by the way, to speak 6 languages fluently.
If you're going to broadcast in English, make that your focal point. Not any of these other dopey languages. Speak English properly if you want to be in this broadcast business.
At 4.5 years old, she was alone. A righteous Gentile. You know, a person who wants to help, not hurt. Had the goodness of their heart.
A Gentile is a term Jews use for non-Jews. It's offensive on some level because you're classifying everyone else that isn't a Jew as somebody different.
A foreign concept probably for you. What? But that person, that righteous Gentile, a man named Dr. Ivo Scherzer, he brought my mom to a Catholic school for boys.
Okay.
Her mother left her there because she had to for any chance of survival.
Yes.
And my mom screamed at her, she tells me, and I quote here, a mother who loves her child would never leave her alone with strangers. But that's exactly what my grandmother did because she had to do that. Inside the Catholic school, my mom learned her prayers, including the Our Father and Hail Mary.
Okay.
His nun, Matilda Gorchanish, helped protect her. That nun had real love and purpose in her heart, and my mother had real love for her.
Again, this is all a great story.
I agree. I love the story. And TurtleBoy, you were not raised by a neurotic Jewish mother. So I'm asking you to forgive Joel here and understand that his environment and the way he grew up was completely different than yours. Think about it. As an adult, he feels compelled to do this video. And I'm sure he's probably going to attack you even further. But all of it is done to show his mommy that he loves her. And that's the sad thing.
I like this story. For somehow he doesn't have his mom's story memorized, which I find interesting.
I do too.
I grew up in a Jewish home with a picture of that nun hanging in our living room, thinking that was perfectly normal for a Jewish kid. And my mom, I found out later on, donated to her in the church until she died late in her 90s. After 8.5 months faking it, as the blogger says, inside that Catholic school for boys, my mother was finally reunited with her mother, my grandmother, in Budapest. My mom had no choice but to eat slabs of horse meat that people would run out to the streets and carve off from the injured animals.
By the way, sounds delicious. She ate a horse. I ate a cow. I ate a pig.
All the attention in the world is never going to satiate his empty soul.
Oh, empty. So empty.
The most dangerous thing that you've ever had to escape.
Rule number 1 in public speaking, Joel, do not read. Notice how your eyes keep going down. You lose the focus of your audience when you're reading.
Are your thoughts, which in your case maybe just as scary as my mom's real experience during the
thoughts?
Holocaust. You have to hear the truth when you're all alone. That you're not that smart,
I'm
not a real
smarter- I'm
journalist,
smarter than you.
but rather a sad, scared, inadequate little blogger.
Remember, all criticism is self-criticism, and Joel's really saying that about himself. And again, I asked TurtleBoy to have empathy with Joel. He didn't grow up with a neurotic Jewish mother, and if you get to Joel, you will find out all those stories, all the anxiety Joel goes through throughout the day because of how he was raised.
Bro, what did you go through that was tough, Joel? Like, what's your story? Why don't you ever talk about your story?
Actually, Joel grew up in a very rich town in New Jersey.
Growing up, Joel, we hear about that. Did you survive tough times? Did you? Because we know your mom did. We get that.
I was able to track down Joel's childhood friend Yitzhak, and he did tell me that the family did go through some hard times. The maid apparently only came 2 times a week and didn't live in the house.
What about you?
You know what? I didn't think that you could sink lower than calling the poor mother of a murdered Boston police officer the C word.
C-U-N-T.
I called Peggy O'Keefe, who was a cunt
Cunt.
to me, exactly what she is. I don't like Peggy O'Keefe, so I'm a bad person. Oh, no. Okay, there you go.
And I promised myself I'd never remain silent again in the face of a Jew hater, no matter how small he is. Being quiet is not an option. It's got 1.5 million children who died in the Holocaust because of people with similar mindsets to you. A very real fact.
Because of similar mindsets to you. This guy is the biggest piece of shit ever.
About the roughly 260,000 remaining Holocaust survivors still alive around the world. I would never let all of them down by staying silent.
Oh, yeah.
You're not interesting.
He's letting them, like, all these Holocaust survivors in the world are like, thank God for Joel. Thank God I'm this important. Imagine thinking you're this important with your whole tough guy thing. Imagine thinking that. Imagine that. Thinking that you're this important, that you can come on here and act like you are the voice for Holocaust survivors everywhere.
A number of supporters have reached out over the last couple of days in alarmingly large numbers to tell me the exact same thing.
Ooh, okay. Oh,
by the way,
people reached out.
During my mom's quote-unquote fake Holocaust experience, her own real father, my grandfather, was grabbed by the Nazis by the shirt collar, pulled out of his front door, and sent in a cattle car to Auschwitz.
To equate the things that I've said on my program, calling Peggy O'Keefe the C word.
So don't spell it. These are your words, Trooper Proctor?
Yes, Your Honor.
Go ahead and say them.
Cunt.
And saying that is the same thing as his grandfather being murdered in the Holocaust is insane.
So when I took my wife and my kids and my mother back to Serbia, back to her hometown of Subotica 2 summers ago, so they could learn about the history that you robbed your...
Nothing worse than taking your mother-in-law on vacation with you. And Yitzhak did tell me that most of the time they were away from her. They were in Paris doing their own thing, and they had an amazing time in a luxury hotel in Budapest.
Students of,
That
the
ironic.
only thing that was left of my grandfather is his name on his father's tombstone. My kids laid stones on it as is Jewish tradition. That's our reality.
Our reality? No, that's your mother's reality. That's your grandfather's reality. It's not your reality. Your reality is you were born and raised in the United States and you make money off of super chats. That's your reality, Joel. You didn't survive the Holocaust. You act like you did. You did not survive the Holocaust. You went through nothing. You have survived no hardships.
That is not true. The maid only came 2 times a week at Joel's luxury estate while he was growing up. However, I'm going to implore you, TurtleBoy, to understand that he has an overbearing mother for which he needs to still please. This has nothing to do with you. But I will warn you, TurtleBoy, because I've seen this before. Expect him to attack every aspect of your life because he is now exposed as just another thin-skinned YouTuber that should have never put himself on here because he can't deal with the criticism. And I have the freedom to say this because not only am I 1/17th African, my Jamaican mother was a survivor of the Holocaust too. And like Charlie Boy, Joel learned the hard way. You don't mess with Carm, and you don't fuck with Donna Sue Adelson.